Okay, hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you the basics of FlowGraph, and the first step is to download the Flow extension. It's the link in my server down in the description below. You go to the software section and it's right here, Vegas Pro Flow, and you click on the link, you scroll down, and you either choose the Vegas Pro 14 or later, or if you have Vegas Pro 14 and below, you choose this one. No, older versions. Yeah, so you download this one. I already downloaded this. You go to your files. I'm going to re-download it just to kind of show it even better. There we go. And then we go to our files, and you'll have this displayed. You double click it, it will show this, but it is perfectly safe. The owner has tried to sort this out, but he can't, and it's perfectly fine, don't worry. So that will pop up, this file here, but before you do anything, you go to Documents and create the file called Vegas Application Extensions. It has to be exactly that, same capitals, same words, everything. And then once you've created that folder, you click on Browse here, and you have to reselect the folder in Documents, Vegas Application Extensions. And then you would press Extract. And then the files will appear here, these files. And then you go to your Vegas version, and you go to Tools, Extensions, Vegas Pro Flow. And it will appear here completely normal. You'll have this section here, which is the default section, and then there's custom, where you can create your own custom graphs. You do that by dragging it where you want, pressing add new, and then naming it, and then saving it. So I'm just going to show you how to do some basic transitions with these clips. So probably a zoom out, then a zoom in. First I would say, as like some basic rules, do a zoom in and a zoom out with one blur mode curves, and double zoom ins and zoom outs with two blur mode curves, and a zoom out and a zoom in with two blur mode curves as well. So you only use one blur mode curve for a zoom in and a zoom out. Like, it's very important. You have to make sure you have the Sapphire plugin installed for S blur mode curves. So you take your default preset, make sure this is set to reflect, put the shutter duration quite low. I don't put it completely low because I still want some kind of blur, but you want this to be your basic preset, so you rename it up here so as preset, and you save it like that. And now that you have that saved, you can do your transitions. So I'm just going to make sure I can see my clip. Hold on, I'm just gonna... You can rearrange your layout like this if you want to, so I can see it. There we go. Now make sure you have this icon down here selected so it goes blue. This is Sync Cursor to Media Timeline, so that when you move your cursor in the blur mode curve section, it moves it in the actual preview and timeline here. It makes it a lot more useful. So now we're going to do the transitions. I'd suggest ranging from 0.1 to 0.3, because anything less than that makes the value really weak. And then you end your zoom out wherever you want to. Like, there's no specific way. If you really wanted a really smooth outcome, you'd do it like this. If you wanted, let's say, a fast Molob kind of thing, you'd do it about halfway. Like, it's really different, it's not the same each time. So if it's not the way you turn out, maybe just try a different thing. And make sure that when you want to add your graph, you have reselected your clip, and that your cursor is in the middle of both of your two keyframes. and then you select it, and the graph here depends on how fast and slow you want it. So this kind of represents the start of the clip, and this represents the end of the clip. So if you want your transition to slowly start and then quickly end at the end, then it will go like that, but this looks really weird. So it's a lot better if you make it start fast, like this, and then maybe end it slowly if you want a slow, smooth transition. But if you want like a fast mob kind of transition, you would do this. So the movement is fast, but it's not going to stop. Because if you make it go all the way to the top here, the movement in the clip is going to stop completely and make it quite stiff. So you want it below the line a bit. So this something like this looks good. And then when you have the graph you want, you press apply. So this is our first, just zoom out. And now we're going to do a zoom in. So you add your second blur mode curves, the same preset you used. Just drag it up if you need more room. Drag your keyframe about like a fourth of the way. Maybe even there. But definitely before halfway. And then we keep the value as 1, and then just go 1 keyframe before the end so you can see what you're doing. And zoom it in however much you prefer. Again, I do it to about 1.1 or 0.3. And now this time, we have to reverse the graph because it's towards the end of the clip. So again, imagine this is the start of the clip and this is the end. Or this is the first keyframe, and then this is the end keyframe. You have to imagine the movement, so it's slowly going, slowly starting, and then it's going to go fast at the end. But we don't want the movement to be really fast, at least for this kind of clip. It's usually Xenos style with this kind of clip. So you want it quite fast, so start off slow and then fast. It's like speed time graph if you ever did maths. But anyway, you reselect it, go here, because if you don't go here and you press apply, it will give you this error, couldn't find an ending keyframe. Because it thinks we're selecting this one that doesn't have an ending keyframe over here, so we have to go to blur curves and select the second blur curves like it is up here. This is the second one. And then we press apply, and there we go. We have our zoom in, and now we're gonna do a zoom in then zoom out, and if you remember what I said at the beginning, it's only 1 blur mode curve, so you only need 1. So we're just gonna zoom out, I'd say max 0.5, like nothing more than that in my opinion. And then what I do is just I hold control and copy the first keyframe all the way to the end, because we're zooming in and then we're zooming out, and then I'm going to either go to the middle or go a bit after the middle, depends how you want your transitions to be. And then zoom into either 0.8 or 0.85 or 6, because you don't want to zoom in like too much to the clip. Again, you have to reselect your clip and do the graph you did before. If you want to save the graph, again, you go here, name, and then press save, and then you have the exact graph you have, like all of these. So I'm just going to add the graph, and then you select towards the end of the clip because it's in between these two keyframes, and then we do it again. And we don't have to reselect the blur curves because it's already on the first blur curves, like this. Of course, if you want your transition to end faster, you would just add a tighter graph, and by tighter I mean something like this. Now, what you can add, this is very subjective, you don't have to add this, is blur motion. Now, the default preset is set to 2z distance 0.8, you want that set as 1, and you want to have the reflect as wrap as reflect and set that as a default preset, so rename it and then set it as whatever you want. And this basically gives you blur. So if you zoom out, only use the 2z distance like this and go to about 0.3 and try to remember where you placed your keyframe. I think I placed it around here. And we're going to set it to 1. You won't set it to 0.9 or 0.8 like you did before because it does this. And you don't want that, that looks really bad. So we're going to keep it as 1. And then again, like I did before, I'm just going to copy it over to the end. So it zooms out like this. And right now it looks really bad, don't worry. Now for the blur, you do need a tighter graph. But you still want some of the blur to show in like this area here. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to leave it like a gap. And then we have to select it and press apply. So like this. You could tighten the graph more, which I think might be a good idea. And make sure that your bottom like line here is on the blue line, like completely straight, so no blur shows until the end of the transition. Like this. And now I'm gonna show you how to do a slide. Actually, no, I'm gonna show you how to do a fake zoom first. So we do the zoom out like we normally would, like we learned before. So it's just a normal zoom out, zoom it in automatically. Just double click if you want it to go back to the default value. Now, it depends where you want your fake zoom to be. I want my clip to end, my zoom out to end here, and then I can fake zoom in to Sakuna or something, and then zoom out. So I'm just going to drag this back a bit more, like this, and then I'm going to show you 2 different types of fake zooms. The fast one that most people use, and then a smooth kind of daddy style one that some people use as well, probably floppy actually. So we do this, add your zoom out, and then we need another blur curves. You only need 2 blur curves for a fake zoom. So this is important. I'm going to show you the first way first. This is the smooth kind of daddy style way. So you want to make it about, well, first thing we do is we mark where your fake zoom begins, like where it starts to zoom in. So like here. And usually you would start it off here with the second way, but I'm going to show you the first way. So you just drag it about 5 frames backwards or in the middle of the zoom out, and then drag it to where you want the fake zoom to end, which is about 5 or 6 keyframes before the end, maybe even less, and then zoom it in to 0.8 or however much you want. And then we're going to zoom it out at the end here. So it zooms in and it zooms out. So the first way is using this graph. Because if you imagine it starts going slow, then it goes fast. The fast point is where your marker will be, which is why you want it quite even, so it starts moving really fast at that point. So if you try and imagine the marker like right here, and then it goes fast and then it slows down again. So if we add this, of course if you wanted it really fast you could tighten it all the way to the end like this, but that's a bit too fast for me, so I'm just going to do it like this. And then second blur curves, there we go. Oh, and then we have to graph the end. There we go. So if I just and then by choice you can add the blur motion at the end if you wanted to. So this is one way. And now I'm just going to delete everything that I graphed for the fake zoom, because that was the first way. And if you want to know how to select all of these at once, you just select your first point, go to the end, hold shift, then press Ctrl X. Very simple. Now this was the first way. Now the second way is you drag your keyframe about towards the end of the zoom out. Realistically, it should be on the marker, but I did the marker way too early. And then you just do this kind of graph where it immediately starts going really fast. So like this. Because the reason why it's fairly loose is because it's really low values, 1 to 0.8, like there isn't much to work with, so you need a small graph. So if we do this, and this is like a really kind of smooth, fast way of doing it. And that's method 2. So you have method 1, which is this way, and then method 2, which is this way. You don't have to really worry about remembering all of this, like it's quite simple when you get used to it. Now this one I'm probably going to do a rotation from this clip to this next clip while we're here. So what I'm going to do is just take off the zoom out that I added so it doesn't make it complicated. So it's just a fake zoom, and then we're going to add the rotation. You're going to add it, again it depends how quick or fast you want your rotation, but maybe 4 to 3 keyframes before your zoom out, or if you did a zoom out, if I kept that zoom out I just got rid of, I would start it at the same point the zoom out started. But because I took off the zoom out, I'm just going to make it go back so it's a bit more smoother. And I'm going to do a full rotation. If you did like a Xenos rotation, you'd do it to about 0.10 or 12. But I'm going to do it full 90 degrees, like this. And then I'm going to keep the graph relatively loose because I want to see the rotation. Make sure the yellow line is on flat on the blue. And then it should automatically go to rotation, but if it doesn't, you just go to this section and then select rotate. And then it rotates in that direction. We did it in the positive direction, so we have to remember that, add our blur curves, and go to a negative direction this time. And I'm also just going to animate the X shift because I'm going to show how to do slides. This one doesn't have tiles, my mistake. And then you set the second keyframe to 0. You can either end it similar how you would end a zoom out, about halfway, or if you're only adding a rotation you could do it all the way to the end of the clip, but I'm going to do it about halfway so the rotation doesn't last too long. And then I'm gonna do the graph. I want it fast, but I want it to end fairly slow with the movement going, so I'm not going to make this go straight, I'm going to make it go down a bit. So this little gap here, it's still moving. So with the rotation, like this. That's a full rotation. And now I'm just gonna copy another clip so I can do a slide real quick. Take these away. Okay. Effects. Now we're going to do a slide, so we have our flat slide value, which is just 0 for now. Again, 5 to 4 keyframes before, if you don't have like a zoom out or zoom in. But if you do, you want to start it where your zoom out value will start. For example, if I had a zoom in then zoom out like this, this is where my zoom out starts, so I'm going to start my slide here as well. But I don't have that, but I'm just going to start it like that anyway. And I'm going to slide towards the right. Is that towards the right? Yes, it is. Towards the right. You can either keep the value as 0.5 or you could even change it as 750 if you wanted to, but as you can see this disappears and this is the only thing that stays, so you just move that towards the end of the clip. And again, you do your preferred graph. Don't do, with any of your transitions, don't do a graph like this. It just looks really weird and it wouldn't look good. So do something quite tight like this. And press Shift X. And then if you remember which way you did it, which was minus, we go to the next clip. And we go positive. Like this. And then we go either halfway or towards the end of the clip, whatever you want. And then once again we have our two values. It's in between. And there we go, press X. Just gonna shift B is pre-render, by the way. The clip's a bit weird, but anyway, you see how the slide is just perfectly fine. And you do these values the same way if you wanted to slide towards the right, towards the left I mean. You would do the same values, positive, whatever number you want. So if you wanted to go the other way, you would just take off the minus and do it the other way. And then you'd have to, of course, regraph it, so you'd have to delete all these keyframes and regraph it. However, if I kept it going towards the left here and then towards the right here, it's just going to bounce off each other. Which I've seen some people do in edits and it just doesn't look good at all. So you need to make it link. So this needs to be the other way around. And I'm going to relink this. Because if you go positive on the end of the clip, your next clip needs to go negative to positive. There we go, and now it links. So that's the other way, and then it's the same values for Y shift. You start off from 0. You either go, I think that's up. Yeah, you either go up or you go down. Depends on your choice. Either way it still works. And then you go on your next clip. I'm just going to get rid of this. So if you went up or down on the next clip, you'd go to the opposite value. So this one's minus, so we need to go to positive, which is this way. And then once again, we graph it. So whatever graph you need, like this. It's lagging, but it is pretty smooth. It's also because of the clips I chose. I probably could have chosen some better clips here. Hold on. I'm just gonna replace the clip with a different one. If you want to copy and paste effects, you copy from the clip you want to copy from, go to the other clip, paste event attributes. There we go. There we go. You can see it smoothly now. And if you're rendering, you can also use blur motion on slides if you do 2 Shift Y. But just to clarify, if the original value from Y shift goes to like 500, like minus 500, your blur motion value all the way at the end would be about minus 250. because you don't want to use all 500 because it gets it really blurry like this. You only want it slightly blurry, which is 200 to 250, which is a good thing to learn. And this should be it on the basic transitions. Ah, there is two more that I need to show, which is double zoom in and double zoom out. So I'm going to take off the blur motion and blur curves on this clip. So if you want to do a double zoom in, you would first do a normal zoom in, which is the 0.4. You'd go a bit after the middle, depends on where you want your clip to end. So to 0.8. Graph it like you normally would, but then you add a second blur curves. Make sure the value is 1. Again, go to 4 to 5 keyframes before, or even 3 keyframes. And then keep the value as 1, then zoom in at the very end. And then add your graph, which is the other way. So of course, if you want the movement to start way earlier, you just drag the first keyframe back, like this. Go to the second blur curves, again, graph it. It looks a bit weird because of the clip I chose. Yeah, like this, that's better. So if we shift render this, you can see that this is fairly smooth. It might not look like it, but when I add it all together at the end, you'll see what I mean. And now that's a double zoom in, I'm going to do a double zoom out. So again, you have two blur curves. So we had a zoom out first, the basic one, wherever you want it to end. Add your value. Then we add our second blur curves, 0.8. This is important, do it to 0.8 or 0.9. I usually do 0.8 because it's easier. And then we end it where we want the clip to end. 0.5. Other way. There we go. And that is how you do it. So these are all the transitions that I've shown you. And then everything else is added with like shakes, warp, blur, position shakes, anything you want. And that's how you do it. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and goodbye.